At the beginning of the movie, two men had just come out of a motel on the outskirts of town. The one was Jones and the one in white was Billy. When they were about to leave, they realized that they had run out of water, so Jones immediately sent Billy to go back in to get water. Inside, several bodies lay on the floor. It was discovered that Jones and Billy were a gang of robbers who often carried out their actions in small shops on the outskirts of town. They did this because small shops were very easy to rob, plus the security was weak, in contrast to a club or bar in the center of the town, where the security was definitely very tight. When Billy was filling the water, a girl suddenly came out of the room. Apparently, when the massacre was taking place, the girl was hiding in her room. Seeing this, Billy, who was a cruel robber, without further ado immediately finished off the girl. Somewhere else, in a small town in Indiana, there was a man named Tom who owned a coffee shop. He had a son named Jack. That time, Jack and his friends were playing baseball. Initially, Jack's team was losing, but fortunately, Jack managed to turn things around at the last minute so that his team won the match. In the locker room, Jack was approached by a man named Bobby, a player from the opposite team who couldn't accept his team being defeated by Jack. He challenged Jack to a fight, but Jack didn't have the courage and didn't want any trouble, so he begged Bobby not to prolong the thing. Jack also said that he was just a cowardly boy who couldn't possibly dare to fight with Bobby. Finally, Bobby left him. In the evening, Tom was currently cleaning up his coffee shop before closing, but suddenly, Billy and Jones came. Tom had told them that the coffee shop was no longer serving because it would close soon, but Jones immediately snapped, saying that he wouldn't leave until Tom gave him coffee. Tom, who didn't want to cause trouble and was afraid of disturbing the remaining customers, was finally willing to serve them. Tom told his waitress to go home first, but when she was about to leave, Billy blocked the way and was rude to the woman. After that, Jones immediately pointed a gun and told Tom to give him all the money. But unexpectedly, Tom managed to fight back. He hit Jones in the head with a coffee pitcher, took Jones's gun to kill Billy, and when Jones stabbed his foot, he shot him dead. People who saw Tom's actions were of course very surprised because the person they thought was geeky and weak was actually able to finish off the robbers very easily. Since that incident, all the news reported on Tom's greatness. They even considered Tom to be a real hero because he was able to save the town from the robbers alone. That day, Tom's wife, Edie, came to pick him up from the hospital. Outside, it turned out that there were already a lot of people welcoming him. Even when they got home, there were already reporters who were ready to cover him. Tom told the reporter that it was just a coincidence, and he himself wasn't as amazing as people thought of him. When they entered the house, Jack, the eldest son, was very proud of his father because everyone thought of his father as a hero. Not long after, a black car was seen monitoring their house, but Edie thought that the car must be a reporter and didn't think about it too much. A few days later, Tom's coffee shop was very busy with visitors. Even this time, Edie had to help because there were so many visitors. This was of course because Tom went viral. Not long after, 3 foreigners came and approached Tom. The 3 were led by an old man named Fogarty, who suddenly called Tom by the name of Joey Cusack. But Tom denied it because his name was Tom Stahl, not Joey Cusack. Fogarty immediately took off his glasses and asked again whether Tom recognized him, but Tom kept denying it by saying that he had mistaken him for another person because he didn't know Fogarty at all. Hearing this, Fogarty just left the shop. After that, Edie contacted the local sheriff to report that there had just been 3 suspicious foreigners coming to their shop. Not long after, the sheriff immediately stopped Fogarty's car and asked several questions. In the afternoon, the sheriff who had discovered the identity of Fogarty and his men immediately told Tom and his wife. The sheriff said that Fogarty was one of the cruel mafias originating from Philadelphia who was recorded to have committed 50 murder cases, and with the money he had, he could easily get out of prison and be free from the law. The sheriff asked Tom if he had a problem with the mafia, and Tom answered that they were looking for a man by the name of Joey Cusack and even mistaken him for that person, but Tom didn't know who the man they were looking for was. On Sunday, Tom decided to go to his shop and wanted to relax there. The shop was closed and Tom spent the time thinking about all his problems when suddenly he saw Fogarty's car that was watching him. Then the car immediately left. Tom, who thought that Fogarty was coming to his house, immediately ran as fast as he could while calling Edie. When connected, Tom told his wife to take the shotgun which he kept on top of the cupboard while he continued to run towards his house even though his leg was still injured from the incident before. Long story short, Tom arrived at home. Edie wondered what really happened and Tom answered that it seemed like he was still traumatized by yesterday's incident, so he always panicked when there was something suspicious. Jack, who happened to be there, was very surprised because all this time, his father had a dangerous weapon. Tom explained that the weapon didn't belong to him but to his friend who entrusted it to him. Luckily, Jack believed him. The next day, Edie was taking her youngest child to a supermarket to buy shoes, but while he was chatting casually, suddenly her child disappeared. This made her very panicked. Fortunately, she managed to find her shortly after. It turned out that there was also Fogarty who was waiting for her. He said that he had business with Joey Cusack or Tom. He also said that Tom was the best and most feared assassin in Philadelphia. In fact, Tom was the one who once damaged his eye with a hot iron. Edie, who didn't believe it, ignored those words and then hurried away. Meanwhile, Jack, who was at school, was again being bullied by Bobby and his friends. They were insulting and belittling Jack's family, even calling his father a murderer who wanted to go viral. Because he couldn't stand it anymore, Jack finally beat Bobby and his friend. Due to this incident, Jack was scolded by his father, especially since he had to be suspended from school. Tom told him to never resort to violence, but Jack replied that his father had also done something as extreme as killing someone. Tom suddenly slapped him. Couldn't accept it, Jack immediately left the house. In the afternoon, when Tom came down from the top floor, he just realized that Edie had returned from the supermarket. She told him that earlier at the supermarket, she met Fogarty again. He told her scary things about Tom. Tom asked her not to believe everything that the man said because it was just a made-up story. Not long after, Fogarty and his men came and asked Tom to come with them to Philadelphia because someone was waiting for him. It turned out they had Jack hostage. Didn't want anything bad to happen to his son, so he finally was willing to go with them if they let Jack go, but when Tom's family was safe, he took back his words about coming with them and told them to leave his property. Hearing this, Fogarty ordered his men to take Tom by force, but Tom somehow fought back. Unfortunately, even though Tom managed to kill both of Fogarty's men, he also had to receive a shot in the shoulder. When Tom was cornered, Fogarty asked if he had any last words to say before he shot him dead. This was when Tom admitted that he should have killed Fogarty while he was still in Philadelphia, which meant that Tom was really Joey Cusack, the best assassin that Fogarty was looking for. When he was about to be killed, suddenly Jack fired the shotgun at Fogarty, leaving him dead. In the evening, Tom was treated in the hospital for the gunshot wound in his shoulder. It wasn't long before Edie came and asked who he really was because she saw with her own eyes how he finished off Fogarty and his men. She knew that kind of thing was usually done by a professional killer only. Because he was cornered, Tom finally admitted that in the past, he was indeed an executor for the big mafia and his real name was Joey Cusack, but he had left behind this bad thing since he met her. Hearing the confession, Edie was certainly disappointed because Tom was able to hide such a big thing through his innocent face. Long story short, when Tom was discharged from the hospital, he saw his son, Jack, who was disappointed in him too after finding out about his father's previous life. In the afternoon, the sheriff came to his house and asked about yesterday's incident because the bad people couldn't be wrong in choosing their target. Moreover, rumors had spread that Tom was actually Joey Cusack, the most feared assassin from Philadelphia. Hearing this statement, Tom just kept quiet, but different from him, Edie was trying to hide his real identity. In fact, she told the sheriff that Tom was not Joey Cusack. She also told him not to bother their family because their family had been dealing with things lately. In the end, the sheriff decided to leave. In the middle of the night, when Tom was asleep, the phone suddenly rang, and when he picked it up, it turned out that it was a call from someone named Richie from Philadelphia. He asked Tom to meet him, or he would come straight to his house to meet him there. Hearing this, Tom rushed to leave the house to go to Philadelphia, worried that if he didn't want to obey Richie, he would threaten the safety of his family. Tom drove all day to Philadelphia and arrived that evening. He stopped at a bar there and met Richie's men who were waiting for him. After drinking for a while, Tom was taken to Richie's residence. When he got there, he was examined first before meeting Richie. Not long after, Richie showed up. It was revealed that Richie was actually his uncle and the head of the mafia in Philadelphia. Richie expressed his disappointment with Tom because Tom had betrayed him in the past by taking most of his money. Plus, when he fought the other mafias for territory in Philadelphia, Tom sided with the enemy instead of him, his own uncle. Tom expressed his apology for having done this, and as a form of apology, he was willing to be given any order like slaughtering Richie's rivals as long as Richie was willing to forgive him. Tom no longer wanted to have anything to do with his past life, so he was willing to do anything as long as he was forgiven, but unfortunately, Richie just wanted to see Tom dead in front of his eyes because that was the only way for Tom to atone for his mistake. Not long after that, Richie's men attacked, but luckily Tom managed to turn the situation around by killing Richie's men. Richie tried to shoot him, but he missed. After that, Richie and his men looked for Tom, but Tom managed to kill the rest of Richie's men. Then Tom pointed his gun at Richie. When the situation was reversed, Richie was willing to forgive Tom and ask him to make peace, but Tom didn't believe it. He preferred to kill Richie, his own uncle. The next day, Tom went home. He had finally erased the memories of his past because no one would chase him anymore. He just wanted to live a normal and happy life with his little family without anyone disturbing him.